In this country, we're joined by Douglas Murray of the Centre for Social Cohesion, from Rotterdam by Professor Tariq Ramadan of Oxford University, and the Bishop of Hume is still with us from Manchester. Professor Ramadan, is there any head of steam in the Muslim community here, serious head of steam for the introduction of Sharia law?
Look, no, I don't think that you will find, Muslim organizations and Muslim leaders asking for something which has to do with Sharia law. But what we have to do first is really to define what we are talking about. I really think, having, followed the whole discussion around the Archbishop of Canterbury, that what we are saying now, what he said, is unfair. He was not at all, and he knows exactly what he is speaking about when he is referring to Sharia law. He's not talking about, cutting heads, and this is not what he's talking about. He was talking mainly about family laws within the British system. Yes. And I think that now we are just saying things about him which are not fair. So I want to start with this, because knowing his discourse, I really think that all this controversy is not at all in tune with his spirit and the way he's looking at things.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come to the interpretation in a second or two, if we may.
No, but I think it's really important.
Okay, hang on, let me just bring in Douglas Murray here.
For us. Let me just answer your question.
I'm sorry, I'm going to bring Douglas Murray here, because there's another important qualification which he accepted in his lecture, which was that the jurisdiction of these courts, in whatever form they existed, would clearly only apply to people who accepted the authority of the court, who were believers, in other words.
Well, let's take it like this. Thanks to the Archbishop's comments, if he saw what he wants to see, a Muslim girl born in this country would, because she was born to a Muslim family, be treated in her courts, in Sharia courts in this country, as being worth half the worth of testifying of her non-Muslim neighbour. That is what would happen. We would be ghettoising people into implying that if you're born a Muslim, you will be run by Muslim law. If you're born a non-Muslim, you'll be run in the normal way that everyone else in the country is. The Archbishop, it's extraordinary we've got to this stage, but the Archbishop, in promoting Sharia law, apart from the fact he should resign, has made life incredibly difficult for progressive Muslims in this country who want to object to Sharia, and he's made it vastly easier for the extremists to see there's something they can get if they hold on long enough.
At the very least, Bishop, what he's done is to enable Muslims in this country to say, look, we don't accept your legal system. There are better systems. There's the Word of God as revealed in Sharia law, and the Archbishop of Canterbury tells us so.
Well, that's exactly what he didn't say in the lecture, and those of us who have read it, and I think you've read it, Jeremy, from the sound of things, actually would acknowledge that he identified very clearly the issues of injustice that were in certain aspects of Sharia law, which this country would want nothing to do with, and that our legal system would have to make quite clear that there were values within our legal system which would mean that certain aspects of, for example, the treatment of women had to be dealt with properly by the legal system.
This is not to do with the 95% of Sharia which its apologists say is not to do with hand chopping. The issue of Sharia, which I don't know if you're familiar with this, but if you're dealing with Sharia in this case, it is dictated in the Quran, in the second book of the Quran, that women are worth half that of men. Now, if you want to have a parallel legal system in this country which throws out the rights accomplishments of this country, runs roughshod over them, and decides that women are worth half of you, then I resent the fact that you're trying to speak for anyone, let alone Christians.
Have you actually read the lecture, and did you see in the lecture?
Absolutely, I read the lecture, and I found out what I could from it, and I listened to the interview he gave, in which, might I add, in his interview, he said that it was wrong that everyone should be treated under the same rule of law in this country. He said that there were problems from that. I don't think there are problems from that. I think that's one of the best accomplishments we've got, that everyone is equal before the law. And the head of your church is saying that it should be different?
No, the head of the church is saying that there are certain aspects of the different cultural, religious traditions of our society which should be respected, if at all possible, within our legal system. For example, is it not right that men and women can be married in the mosques as they are in synagogues, as they are in churches and chapels? Is it not right, for example, and our society is already adapted to this, that aspects of the Muslim approach towards money and finance should be accommodated within our system? And we've actually adopted our financial laws in order to enable that to happen.
It's already been accommodated.
Yes, but that's one aspect, and we've done it. So we've already taken aspects of Sharia law into this country.
Tariq Ramadan, can you just tell us, what effect has this controversy, or what effect is it beginning to have in the Muslim community?
Look, first, the Muslims and the Muslim organizations are not asking for a parallel system. They are law-abiding, and there is room for us to remain Muslims and fully Muslims within the legal British system, and there is no problem. Within this system,
can I just ask you on a question of? Can I ask you on a question of fact? Apostasy, denying the faith, is punishable by death under Sharia law, isn't it?
No, no. Look, once again, you are
Is that true or not?
Following in
is
the
it true or not?
Can I answer? Because you are asking question, and when Murray is talking, you let him talk, and when I am talking, you don't let me finish.
Well, then I suggest you answer the question, please.
I am answering the question, telling you that you are following in the footsteps of Mr. Murray, coming with a perception of Sharia that it's monolithic and there is no room for interpretations. Your understanding of apostasy is not the only Islamic answer, and I and others, the Mufti of Egypt recently said, you know, that you can change your religion and you are not going to be killed. So don't come with something which is a simplistic definition of Sharia, and do what Murray is doing, which is using this controversy to nurture an Islamophobic discourse. Right. The people around us. This is exactly what you are doing, Mr.
You think it's Islamophobic to point out that we think that women should be treated equally to men?
Let me finish. Let me finish. The people should understand, and our fellow citizens should understand, that the Muslims are not asking for a parallel system, and there are many interpretations relating to Sharia, and it's much more open than that, and don't come with something which is a superficial discourse.
Okay, well, Suhaib Hassan was on the television last Sunday night.
Not acceptable.
Last Sunday night, Suhaib Hassan from the Islamic Sharia Courts of Britain was on the televisions across this country on Channel 4 saying that he would like in the end for people to be flogged, beheaded, hands chopped off, all that stuff. We know that's where it leads, Mr. Ramadan. We know where that's where it leads.
You are just using the controversy to spread fears in the British society.
There is a good reason to be fearful of Sharia, Mr. Ramadan.
Let's just take this back. Before we argue about interpretations of Sharia, and this is one of the many problems, as even you acknowledge, Mr. Ramadan, there are so many interpretations. The key to this is a belief somehow that hundreds of years of removing religion from the legal process of this country should somehow be reversed. And that's a thing that's very hard for a lot of people to take.
Nobody is asking this. You know, the great majority of the Muslims are saying something else. When, for example, in the British law, there is justice for everything, for everyone, equality before law. This is our Sharia. We don't have a problem with this. When you are telling me, and I'm telling you, I'm respecting the British law, because within the British law, there is equality before law. This is our Sharia. So don't come with a nurture this perception that we have a closed system which is against the British system. This is simply not true for the great majority of the Muslims living in Britain and in Europe. This is not true. This is what people like Murray are using to build the walls between the people and nurturing a rejection of Muslims.
It is the case, is it not, that there are all sorts of exemptions that people are entitled to on the profession of religious belief. For example, doctors being required to perform abortions can object on religious grounds. There are all sorts of religious institutions, quasi-religious courts in this country. The Jews have them, for example. Why shouldn't the Muslims?
We should clear up this for a start, which the Archbishop of Canterbury has also got wrong, which is that Jewish courts in this country are, first of all, informal, and secondly, voluntary. They do not have any rights that supersede or stand equal to British law. The Sharia notion is that it stands not only equal, but superior to British law. The Jews have just been thrown out by the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Nobody is asking this.
As something which is sacrificed to the rest of it. This is a totally different thing. If you want to throw Islamophobia around for Mr. Ramadan, let's talk about the anti-Semitism of the notion that you say, we will give the Sharia to
hang on, guys. Just both of you, hold on a second or two. Bishop, you can have the last word.
I'm just appalled, really, about how the whole debate has been now caricatured, really, of what it was actually about in the first place. The Archbishop of Canterbury, as the religious leader of this country, actually brought an issue to an intellectual discussion about the whole issue of the way in which one community and its culture was being treated, and there were issues within that culture which needed addressing in relation to equality compared with other religious organisations like the church and so on.
All right, chaps, thanks very much indeed.
It's all run away.
Thank you.
These are words of wisdom.